Welcome to Ambime Views and News, another video for you. A main news story is from Aksum. Tigray's city with rich past, rich history is the new target of Ethiopian National Defense Force and Eritrean military. Dawn strikes were conducted on Aksum today. Fighting is approaching Aksum city reportedly. Secondly, African members of UN Security Council are requesting a meeting of UN Security Council about Ethiopian conflict. These countries opposed earlier requests from some European countries for a meeting on Ethiopian conflict. Now the three African countries reportedly are requesting a meeting. Why? Were these countries waiting for ENDF and EDF's military gains? And now when EDF and ENDF have advantage, the three countries have agreed to a special meeting on Ethiopia's Tigray conflict. And thirdly, viewers, we have a video for you from Afar, from a place close to Birahle, where humanitarian crisis is deepening, like we are seeing in Tigray. Almost same the situation in some parts of Afar, where civilians have been displaced from some areas so close to the areas fighting has been ongoing for days. And 8 organizations have limited access to these hundreds of, other thousands of Afar civilians. Firstly, viewers, what we saw in Shire, on Shire front, within the last 3 to 4 weeks is now starting to happen on Aksum front. What happened on Shire front? We know that before EDF and ENDF managed to get close to Shire, they carried out drone strikes and air strikes on Shire, on the surroundings of Shire. So they blocked all movement of Tigray forces from Shire in a northern direction. They attacked TDF's headquarters. They attacked TDF's military assets in and near Shire. Shire was under constant pressure. And meanwhile, EDF and ENDF, they kept on advancing towards Shire. They managed to reach close to Shire, then they launched artillery strikes. And we saw almost on daily basis, artillery strikes were conducted by EDF and ENDF on Shire. TDF had to withdraw, had to retreat from Shire. Because had it not withdrawn, it would have led to urban combat with tens of thousands of civilian lives in danger. So TDF withdrew. Now same is starting to happen in Aksum. Aksum, historic city, rich past, rich history with large number of monuments, is now the site of strikes, dawn strikes, air strikes. On Tuesday at around 11:30 a.m., drone strikes were conducted on Aksum city. Tigray-backed news sources claim that civilians have been killed and injured in these drone strikes. Meanwhile, fighting is approaching Aksum, reportedly. It's difficult to say how close is the ongoing fighting to Aksum city, but most sources say that next major target of Ethiopian National Defense Force and Eritrean military is Aksum, and from more than one directions they are trying to move towards Aksum. Like we saw in the case of Shire, that in the case of Shire, Eritrean military and ENDF, they advanced towards Shire not only from the Dairo side but also from Eritrean border. to the area between Dairo and Shere. From two directions, EDF and ENDF managed to reach close to Shere. Same seems to be happening on Aksum front. Distance between Aksum and Eritrean border is around 40 kilometers. Aksum through Rama, Eritrean border, distance around 40 kilometers. Distance between Aksum and Shere, same, around 40 kilometers. And perhaps Aksum to Shere road is difficult to move along, keeping in view the road passes through mountains. And perhaps Eritrea to Aksum military advance is easier than Shere to Aksum military advance, which is underway from both directions. Reportedly, ENDF and EDF are now trying to reach Aksum city. Coming days crucial. After first major loss in Tigray, Shere, what is going to be TDF's next plan of action? Can it defend other major towns, or will it come under more pressure? That remains to be seen. Secondly, viewers, UN Security Council members from Africa have requested a meeting of UN Security Council about Ethiopian conflict. We know that Ethiopia, African countries, they have been opposing UN Security Council meeting on Ethiopia. Since the 24th of August, some Western countries, they tried that a UN Security Council meeting should be convened to discuss Ethiopian conflict. But Ethiopia opposed. Ethiopia not member of UN Security Council. 3 African countries which are members opposed these meetings. Kenya, Gabon, Ghana. And that is why meetings could not be held. In just one case, some informal meetings were held, not part of agenda, with no binding recommendations. Why? Because these African countries opposed meetings in recent weeks. Now, the 3 countries are requesting a meeting of UN Security Council. Reportedly, the meeting could be held on Friday. Question is, why is that now Kenya, Ghana, Gabon want a UN Security Council meeting on Ethiopia? They were opposing the meeting a few days ago. Were they waiting for ENDF and EDF to have a military leverage? And now when EDF, ENDF are in a strong position, they are requesting a meeting. Can we say that the 3 countries have Ethiopian backing? Ethiopia has agreed to a meeting of UN Security Council. It's too early to say, but it seems that Ethiopia is in a commanding position now in the ongoing war in a northern part of the country. So that is why now a meeting won't hurt Ethiopia. Even if a ceasefire is agreed, now at this point of time, Ethiopian military is in a strong position. Tigray is under a tighter siege now. Tigray was under siege for months, for 2 years. But siege has become tighter now because TDF has lost western part, already lost, southern part now, and now Shere lost as well. Shere to Gondar seems entire road will be lost. So it means that Tigray now has come under tighter siege. EDF, ENDF in a strong position. Though their stated objective is to take control of all airports in Tigray, all federal facilities in Tigray. So let's see what happens on Friday. Will Ethiopia oppose this meeting, or is this meeting being requested after Ethiopia agreed and the 3 countries took Ethiopia on board, which is very likely. Lastly, viewers, Afar region of Ethiopia, northern Afar is facing a humanitarian crisis, less reported. People mostly report about crisis in Amhara region, in parts of Amhara region, in Tigray as well, that thousands are dying there. Some are dying of hunger too. Aid organizations have no access to some areas. Same is happening in northern Afar as well, viewers, close to Berale, from where thousands have been displaced in recent days. People are suffering, no access to food, no access to water. People are living in camps. Aid organizations have limited reach in these areas. No aid convoys are being allowed from Samra towards northern Afar. That is why aid organizations should not neglect what is happening in Afar, especially close to Birale, because Birale is an active front. Close to Birale, we saw fighting on Mount Asta, Dacia, Lugdo. And from these areas, these villages close to the front lines, thousands have been displaced. And they've been displaced not to Samra, but in nearby mountainous areas, which are not accessible to aid organizations. Watch a clip showing the plight of these Afar civilians near Birale. Thank you for watching.